प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं यं गुरुं हि स्वयं सत्यः प्रज्ञाभक्तिविनीतयः दीप्तिश्चाभिव्रता नित्यं तं गुरुं प्रणमाम्यहं सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Verse 29. विज्ञानी शुचिरात्मवान्मस्तु पुरुषः संसारमार्गस्य तत्पारं विष्णुपदं प्रयाति न पुनः संसारमापद्यते। विज्ञानेन समाहितेन मनसा रिक्तः पुनश्चाशुचिः तद्विष्णोः परमं पदं न भजते संसार एव स्थितः। स्थूलादिन्द्रियसञ्चयात् खलु परः सूक्ष्मोऽर्थसङ्घो मनः तस्माच्चापि परं ततोऽपि धिषणा तस्याः परो वै महान्। अव्यक्तं महतः परं हि पुरुषो व्यक्तात् परस्तत्परं नो किञ्चित् सपरागतिः स च पराकाष्ठा हि सर्वान्तरः। गूढोत्मा भुवनेष्वयं न सकलैः ज्ञेयो वृतो मायया बुद्ध्या सूक्ष्मिकया ज्ञेया पुनरयं सूक्ष्मे क्षणैर्दृश्यते। विद्वान् हृद्यपसंहरेद्गिरमिदं चित्तं च बुद्धौ महत्येनां तं च महान्तमान्तरतमे शान्ते प्रतीच्यात्मनि। यज्ञानं पददुर्गमं सुनिशिता शस्त्रस्य धारा यथा शब्दस्पर्शमरूपमव्ययमजं नित्यं ध्रुवं चारसम्। निर्गन्धं यदनन्तमेत्य पुरुषः मृत्योर्मुखान्मुच्यते। विद्यासुप्तित आशुजागृतनराः तत्प्राप्तुमाचार्यिणः। श्रोत्रादीन्द्रियसञ्चयं स भगवान् शब्दादिबाह्यार्थगं चक्रे यत्तदसौ पुमान् बहिरिमान् भुङ्क्ते स्वकैरिन्द्रियैः। धीरः कोऽपि यतेन्द्रियोऽनुभवति स्वं प्रत्यगात्मानमत्राप्तुं मोक्षमुशन्न धीरहृदयः कामी तु मृत्योर्वशः। So we saw that verse 33 that we just read is summary of the first two mantras of the fourth Valli of the Kathopanishad. So in the previous class, we read through the interesting commentary which has been authored by Bhagavad Pada of the first mantra. Now the next verse that we have, 34, presents a summary of the next three mantras. So mantra 3, 4 and 5 of the fourth one. So let us read the verse. Loko yena samikshate dhvanirasa. Loko yena samikshate dhvanirasa. Loko yena samikshate dhvanirasa. Sparishamscha dukkham sukham. Sparishamscha dukkham sukham. Sparishamscha dukkham sukham. Rupam gandhagunam cha jagrati tatha. Rupam gandhagunam cha jagrati tatha. Rupam gandhagunam cha jagrati tatha. Swapne sushuptavapi. Swapne sushuptavapi. Swapne sushuptavapi. Ajnanam hrudayendriyadya viditam. Ajnanam hrudayendriyadya viditam. Ajnanam hrudayendriyadya viditam. Yasyasti no kinchana. Yasyasti no kinchana. Yasyasti no kinchana. Nyatva Syatmamaheshwaram madhubhujam. Nyatva Syatmamaheshwaram madhubhujam. Nyatva Syatmamaheshwaram madhubhujam. Dhiro na shochatyamam. Dhiro na shochatyamam. Dhiro na shochatyamam. Loko yena samikshate dhvanirasas parishamscha dukkham sukham rupam gandhagunancha jagrati. Rupam gandhagunancha. Up to this, you can see that the third mantra is spanning. The content of the third mantra comes up to that. Then jagrati tatha swapne sushuptavapi. So there the fourth mantra is taken up. And then the fifth mantra is sort of touched upon towards the later part of the verse. So here basically what is being stated is Yena samikshate. Samikshate. Samyak ikshate. Samikshate. Yena samikshate means by whom this person perceives well. Perceives well. So Yena samikshate. What is samikshate? So what is being perceived? See here he is listing dhvanirasas parishamscha. Lokaha. Lokaha here refers to Purusha. The person who perceives. The one for whom jnana happens. Lokaha. Yena samikshate. Dhvanihi refers to Shabda. Then rasa, taste, sparishamscha. Dhvanirasas parishaha. Okay. So here we have a iteratara dvandva. Three things are listed. Dhvanirasas parishamscha. Further he says dukkham sukham. So then he further moves rupam gandhagunancha. So these are being listed. If you look at this mantra, Yena rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparishamscha maithunan yete naiva vijanati kimatra parishishyate etat etadvaitat. So this etadvaitat is something which has been already stated. The question was posed long back. Okay. Anyatra dharmad, anyatra adharmad, anyatra asmat kritakratat, anyatra bhutacha bhavyacha, yattat pashyasi tadvada. That was the question that was posed. So to that there is a long answer. So in between various other things also came. So he will say this answer. So if you look at the mantra, Yena Rupam Rasam Gandham Shabdan Sparshamscha. So these are 5 things which are listed. Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha. So these 5 things are listed. Then one more thing that we find in the mantra is Maithunan. So that is what is captured here as Sukham Dukkham. Understand? So Ramaraya brings in Sukham and Dukkham. So Maithuna Janyam, Kadachit Sukham, Kadachit Dukkham. So Shabdan Sparishamscha Maithunan. Okay. So here Loke Yena Samikshyate Dhvanirasa Sparishamscha Dukkham Sukham Rupam Gandha Gunancha Jagrati. So Yena, having said that, so if you come back to the last line, see, just look at that. Atma Maheshwaram. See. So this Atma Maheshwaram Madhubhujam Dhiro Nasho Jnatva. So Kam Jnatva Atma Maheshwaram Jnatva. See. So Atma Maheshwara means Atma Bhinna Maheshwara. Okay. Maha Maheshwara Bhinnam Atmanam Jnatva. That is how we have to understand. Atma Maheshwaram. And then Madhubhujam is another attribute that has been given to, and that is something which will be taken up in the 5th mantra. So we will just leave it for the moment. Madhubhujam. So in fact, the word Madhu has various connotations. So Madhu here is to be understood in the sense of Karma Phala. Madhu, how can it be Karma Phala? It is a Upacharika Prayoga or Gaunah Prayoga. That is how one has to understand. So Madhu, the immediate sense that comes to our mind is honey, right? So Makshikam. So that which is, so that is what comes to our mind. So it is something which has to do with the taste. And the taste has to be taken as Anubhava. Okay? Madhu. So Anubhava. So this Anubhava, in that sense, you can always add our own Karma Phala. So Tadapi Bhujyate. Anubhuyate. Yatha Madhu Anubhuyate. So in that sense, Madhu Bhujam Bhagavad Pada interprets as Karma Phala. In fact, this word Madhu has various other occurrences in the Upanishad itself. There is one Brahmana called Madhu Brahmana. So there are a lot of interesting things. Maybe we can take it up later. So now the word Madhu Bhujam should be understood as Karma Phala Bhoktara. Okay. So normally you understand this Karma Phala Bhoktritvena Atma Avagataha, Sukha Dukha Bhoktritvena Atma Avagataha. So Tadrisham Atmanam, see, Maheshwaram Jnatva. So if you understand this Atman to be different from this Anubhokta, okay, Dhiraha na shochati. I am Dhiraha na shochati. See. So this is how you have to understand the Anvaya. Now, if you look at in more detail, Yena samikshate dhvani rasasparishamscha dukkham sukham rupam gandhagunam cha jagrati. So gandhaguna is, how do you understand? So 2 words here. Gandhaschaso gunasya. Gandha iti gunaha. Gandha gunaha. Gandha iti Gandha iti gunaha. Yatha raso gunaha, yatha shabdo gunaha, tatha gandhopi gunaha. So gandha gunam is what he is saying. Gandha gunam is, this is a samahara dvandva. So this is one way of seeing samahara dvandva. We will come to that. So the commentary itself, he takes it up interestingly. Rupam gandha gunam cha jagrati tatha swapne sushuptavapi. So here, see, gandha gunam cha jagrati means during the jagrad avastha. Jagrad avastha, only in jagrad avastha you can have the sense organs engaged, and thereby you can get jnana. Okay. So jagrati, this is something which is quite spashta. Jagrati tatha. Similarly, so do you have experience only in jagrad avastha? No. You also have experience in the swapna avastha. Therefore he is saying tatha swapne. And in the swapna, you can have all this. Whatever that has been stated above, you can have. But not through the antahkarana vritti. This is something which is different, one has to understand. Okay. So this antahkarana goes out, fetches this information and gets it through jagrat. In the sushupti there is a distinction. In the swapna there is a distinction. We will see that in greater detail later. Swapne cha anubhavati. Then he says samikshate. That is the kriyapadam here. Sushuptavapi. During sushupti, the shabdasparsha rupa rasagandha, there is no experience. Right? Sushupti, shabdasparsha rupa rasagandha is not there. Dukkham is also not there. Okay. So dukkham is also not there. But there is one thing which is happening. Ajnanam sushuptavapi ajnanam. So there is, one can say that ajnana is somewhat known through a certain pratyabhijna which comes later. And sukha also, not through the antahkarana. So for you to recognize antahkarana is essential. But so just keep it for the moment. We will have a discussion later. Ajnanam. Then he says, Hridayendriyadyavididam. Hridayendriyadi. See, so Hridayendriyadi, you have to put a break there. So yena hridayendriyadi samikshate. That is how you have to connect that. See, this hridaya and indriya obviously play a role in any of the knowledge that you gain. Be it shabda, be it rasa, be it sukha, be it dukkha. So these things are known to you through the help of these entities. Okay. Now he is saying these entities which play as karana, the role of karana, they are also known to you. So these are karanas. Karanas means instruments. So they are also perceived by you. Hridayendriyadi. Aviditam yasyasti no kinchana. He says, yasya atmanaha aviditam kinchana nasti. So aviditam kinchana nasti, yes, I do not know a few things, so you can say. But then one has to understand that avidnyatatvena jnatam. Vijnatatvena jnatam, avidnyatatvena jnatam. You can say. See, all things. In fact, there is a very interesting verse, no? See, Vedmiti yadbaladartha. Repeat. Vedmiti yad baladart. Vedmiti yad baladart. Na vedmiti cha yad balad. Na vedmiti cha yad balad. Na vedmiti cha yad balad. Tadanya nirapeksham sat. Tadanya nirapeksham sat. Tadanya nirapeksham sat. Bhatityasmad guror vachaha. Bhatityasmad guror vachaha. Bhatityasmad guror vachaha. This is how Vidyaranya puts it. So, Viditam iti, Aviditam iti. So, anyway, this is known. So, this is how one can say. So, yasyasti no kinchana. This can be understood in various senses, but we will just take it as Viditam iti jnatam, Aviditam iti jnatam. So, known. Jnatva. This entity you have to know. How will you know this entity as? Atma Maheshwaram Madhubhujam Dhiro Nashochatyamum. Amum Jnatva Dhiraha Nashochati. Yena Samikshate Amum Jnatva Dhiraha Nashochati. So this is what is being stated here. Now I will take you through the mantra and then explain it a bit, and then we will come to the commentary of Ramaraya. Okay. So this mantra has, the third mantra has a very interesting commentary in Bhashya. Yena rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparishamscha maithunan yete naiva vijanati kimatra parishishyate etad vaitat. This is what it says. So here Bhagavad Pada commences the commentary by saying Yad vijnanat nakinchit anyat prarthayante brahmanaha katham tad adhigamaha iti. So yad vijnanat nakinchit anyat prarthayante brahmanaha. Where did you get this meaning? So it is obtained from the previous thing. Athadhira amritatvam viditva dhruvamadhruvesh vihana prarthayante. This is how the second mantra ends. Dhiraha amritatvam viditva dhruvam adhruveshu ihana prarthayante. So dhiraha means, so he is putting it as brahmanaha. Brahmanaha means brahmani rataha. So atha dhiraha. So he is saying kinchid anyat na prarthayante. Prarthana can be only for something which is seen by you, right? So they don't seek for. So na prarthayante katham tadadhigamaha. So how do you understand that? Uchyate. He says yena vijnana swabhavena atmana rupam rasam gandham shabdan sparishamscha maithunan. He's just listing. So one question can be asked here. I am reminded of Yena. So he's saying, see here the question is, who is Atma, right? Yena rupam rasam gandham. So he just defined Atma this way. So Yena rupam janati. So what would you say? Chakshusha. So Chakshuhu Atma. Yena rasam janati. Rasanendriyam. So this is how we will generally understand, right? Yena rupam rasam gandham sarvam janati. Put together. So you can come up to that, right? Manaha. So yena rupam janati, you can immediately say Chakshuhu. Yena shabdam janati, you can say Shrotrendriya. Now all of them have been put together here. Yena rupam rasam gandham shabdana. So then there is something which has to be common. So that you can just say Manaha. Now you further have Sukham Dukham. So you can still say Manaha. Right? Now he brings in through the next verse, that is how we have to understand. Ajnanam janati. So here you will be building step by step. Avastham janati, tatra shabdadin janati. So all that he is trying to bring in here. Maithunam janati. The verse that came to my mind was Kimaushadham jarasyeti. You say? Kimaushadham jarasyeti. Kimaushadham jarasyeti. Prushto yadi vadet kochit. Yadi vadet kochit. Prushto yadi vadet kochit. Yenedam shamyati ityevam. Yenedam shamyati ityevam. Yenedam shamyati ityevam. Kintena kathitam bhavet. Kintena kathitam bhavet. Kintena kathitam bhavet. See, this verse asks, somebody went, okay, so what is the remedy for fever? Kimaushadham jvarasya. What is the medicine that I have to consume? This fellow said, by consuming which the jvara will go, that will be the medicine. Yeah, you understand? Kimaushadham jvarasyeti prushto yadi vadet kvachit. Yenedam shamyati ityevam. Kim tena kathitam bhavet. So this yena can be used only when you know that here you are referring to some entity as yena. Understand? So one can ask this question, where will you use yena? In the known or in the unknown? So yena. So yena generally we use yet shabda tat shabda. So this yena is used. So here yenedam shamyati. Yena means I do not know any entity beyond this sharira sanghata. Dehendriya sanghata is what is known to me. The existence of another entity is not known to me. Right? So for me, what is known is only this. Beyond that, I do not know. Atmanaha astitvam. Shariradi vyatiriktena atmanaha astitvam, I do not know. So you are assuming that there is an entity now. The problem is, you are assuming the existence of Shariradi Vyatirikta entity, and through that you know, and that is Atma you are saying. But that itself is not known. So the only if there is an existence of an entity can you refer to that entity as yena. Tadrisha vastunaha sattvam apekshate prathamatah. Tadrisha vastunaha sattvamev yadi na jnayeta. So the existence itself, if it not known, then yena, it doesn't work. So yena presumes the existence of something. Okay. So here one can also ask that question. So how did he say yena, the existence of that entity? So there one can say the existence need not necessarily be known to you, but if it is known to someone else, that is okay. Understand? So it need not be known to you, but it is known to someone else. You don't have the necessary pramana to know that. But if someone else says that there is something, so then you have to take it. So he has a pramana to show. Similarly, this vettaraha, atmavidaha ye vartante, te jnatavantaha. So mudhanam shariradiriktaha atmanasti iti krutva yena iti kasanam anuchitam iti navartana. So kejana jananti adaha. So therefore there is no problem with reference to using this yena here. So yena, so that yena he is describing as vijnana svabhavena atmana. Understand? Tadisha vijnana svabhavaha atma. So may not be known to you. But शरीरातिरिक्तः कश्चन आत्मा अस्ति इति विद्वदनुभवसिद्धोऽयं विषयः. यद्यपि अविद्वदनुभवविषयो न, तथापि विद्वदनुभवसिद्धः इति कृत्वा येन इति प्रयोगः युक्तः. रूपं रसं गन्धं शब्दान् स्पर्शांश्च मैथुनान् मैथुननिमित्तान् सुखप्रत्ययान्. Understand? So Maithuna Nimittan Sukha Pratyayan. That is why so Ramaraja uses Sukham Dukkham. Understand? So Sambhoga, so Stripum Samyoga. So Maithuna Nimittan Sukha Pratyayan Vijanati Vispashtam Janati Sarvo Lokaha. Sarvo Lokaha, everybody knows about this. Okay? Nanu. Here the question is being posed. नैवं प्रसिद्धिः लोकस्य आत्मना देहादि विलक्षणेन अहं विजानामीति. Understand? So देहादि विलक्षणेन आत्मना जानाति. No one knows. नैवं प्रसिद्धिः लोकस्य आत्मना देहादि विलक्षणेन अहं जानामीति. देहादि संघातोऽहं विजानामीति तु. देहादि संघातोऽहं विजानामीति तु सर्वो लोकः अवगच्छति. So you are talking about dehadi vilakshana. So dehadi sanghatena aham janami. See? So this is how we understand. So here he is saying sarvo lokaha avagacchati. Nanu dehadi sanghatasyapi शब्दादि स्वरूपत्व विशेष शब्दादि स्वरूपत्व अविशेषात् अविज्ञे शब्दादि स्वरूपत्व अविशेषात् विज्ञेयत्व अविशेषाच्च न युक्तं विज्ञातृत्वम्. What does this mean? Dehadi sanghatasyapi. So what is our anubhava? Through this sense organ, through the mind, through the sharira. So there is nothing which is beyond that. Right? So I know through this. This is what is called dehadi sanghata here. So deha, indriya, manas, everything put together. This complex. So here he is saying dehadi sanghatasyapi shabdadi swarupatva avisheshat. So is it something which is completely different from any other vishaya that you are experiencing? So when you say shabda, when you say rasa, so they are all gunas. So dravyashrita, they cannot independently exist. So this dravya has a certain guna, and when you know these gunas, you also know about that entity which presents the taste. So if you are tasting some kaju katli, right? So there is a rasa anubhuyate. But where does it come from? Through some entity. So when you know this taste, you also know that entity. Okay? Sometimes if you don't know, you would like to know where it comes from. You would like to know what it is. So these are all things which are connected. Now he is saying Shabdadi Swarupatva Avisheshat. Means even this Dehadi Sanghata is of the nature of Shabdadi only. This Dehadi Sanghatasya Shabdadi Swarupatva Avisheshat Vigneyatva Avisheshacha. Understand? You understand? See, what is your anubhava? Dehadi sanghatena anubhavami. Yena samikshate. Kena samikshate? Dehadi sanghatena samikshate. Now he is asking, yatha ete vishayaha samikshante, as you know these entities, you also know the Dehadi Sanghata. This also has become an object of your perception. Not only Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa. So this Dehadi Sanghata itself forms only that. And therefore this is also perceived by you. So now the perceiver and the perceived belong to the same category. So that is what he is trying to say. See, Dehadi Sanghatasyapi Shabdadi Swarupatva Avisheshat. Avisheshat means it doesn't belong to a different category, it belongs to the same domain. See? So here, Nanu iti Nayuktam Vijñātritvam. See, one is Vijñeyatvam, the other is Vijñātritvam. Understand? This Vijñeya is one entity, Vijñāta belongs to a different domain. Is it very clear? So, Shabdadayaha Vijñeyaha. Kena Vijñayante? So, Dehadi Sanghata Swarupaha eva Atma iti matva. You are saying Dehadi Sanghatena Nyayate. That is what he is saying. See, Dehadi Sanghatoham Vijanami. This is Anubhava. See, Dehadi Sanghata Swarupoham Anubhavami. Now the question is, Dehadi Sanghata, is it an object of perception or not? If that also belongs to the same domain as the object of perception, so then this Dehadi Sanghata cannot be Vijñāta. It also is Vijñeya. So since Dehadi Sanghata is also a Vijñeya, there has to be a Vijñāta different from this. So that is what is the argument that is being presented here. See, Yadihi Dehadi Sanghataha Rupadyatmakaha San. So somebody said, let this be Vijñāta as well as Vijñeya. So let this Dehadi Sanghata be both Vijñeya and Vijñāta. So as you can be a father, you can also be a son. So why don't you consider like this? Suppose somebody asked this question. So here he is saying, Yadihi Dehadi Sanghataha Rupadyatmakasan Rupadin Vijaniyat. Yadihi Dehadi Sanghataha Rupadyatmakasan Rupadin Vijaniyat. Tarhi Bahyapi Rupadayaha Anyonyam Swam Swam Rupancha Vijaniyuhu. See? So then, you should just say, oh, they have to know each other. Understand? If this can belong to the same domain and can perceive the other entity, then they themselves should also know each other. This is not happening. And therefore he is saying, Nachai tadasti. This is not something which is seen. Therefore, tasmat Dehadi Lakshanamscha Rupadin Yete Naiva Dehadi Vyatirikte Naiva Vijnana Swabhavena Atmana Vijanati. See, this is what is the most important point. Dehadi Sanghata is Shabdadi domain. Understand? Atma is Vijnana Swabhava. Okay. Dehadayaha Achetana. So here this is Chaitanya Swabhava. Atma, when you say. So it is Dehadi Vilakshana in the sense that it is of the nature of what we call as consciousness. Okay. So therefore we have to understand this term important, Vilakshana. See, he is saying Dehadi Lakshana Rupadin Yetenaiva Dehadi Vitiriktenaiva Vijnana Swabhavena. You cannot say Hridaya is of Vijnana Swabhava, Deha is of Vijnana Swabhava. Okay. Vijnana svabhavena vijanati lokaha. To drive in the point, he just gives a beautiful example. He says, Yatha yena loho dahati sognihi iti tadvat. Understand? Now, yena loho dahati sognihi. So you have a steel rod. So you go and take the rod by your hand. So does it burn your hand? No, it doesn't burn. Right? Suppose you go to a welder shop. Okay. So you have instructed him to do some welding. So he would have just welded and you just go there and suppose you grab it. That is all. You will really burn your hand. So you don't need to go there. So even in your kitchen, suppose you had a thick dosa, okay? So pan, dosa pan. So you don't know the existence of heat there. So incidentally you go and touch, finished. Your hand will be burnt, right? So now, what would you say? Lohaha dahati or agnihi dahati? Kallu suttudutu. Lohaha dahati is what this fellow said. Okay. So tosa kallu suttudutu. So that will not burn, right? That will not burn. So yena lohaha dahati. So there is some other thing which does not belong to its domain. You understand? So that does not belong to the domain of whether it is iron or stone. You can have both kind of pans. Okay. So this burning of either the stone or the pan is because of the presence of fire in that. So that does not burn on its own. So yena loho dahati saha agnihi. So this answer to this question is yena vijanati saha atma. Means, so this does not belong to this vijnatras svabhavaha is associated with the Chaitanya and not with these entities. Okay? So yatha yena loho dahati sognihi tadvat. So then, of course, the rest is kimatra parishishyate. So he explains kim atra asmin loke parishishyate nakinchit parishishyate. So that is what Ramaraya tries to bring in the third quarter. If you look at the third quarter, aviditam yasyasti no kinchana. Aviditam yasyasti no kinchana. So this is not something. So there is nothing in this world which is unknown to this. Okay? Atmanaha sarvajna svabhavatva, Chaitanya svabhavatva. So here, so kim atra asmin loke parishishyate nakinchit parishishyate sarvameva swatmana vijneyam. Yasya atmanaha avijneyam naginchit parishishyate saha atma sarvajnaha. You understand? So this Chaitanya, we have to understand. So you may not be able to sense something which the dog may be able to sense. You may not be able to see something which the bat may be able to see. Understand? How do we define this Atman? So this is defined as Vijnana Svabhava. That Vijnana Svabhava is there in every entity. So Vijnana Svabhava is there in every entity. So you recognize the presence of something else. So you can even say in a subtle form, this, if you want to extend it, so not in this sense of the jnana that we get through sense organs. So even when you think of, so the magnet and the iron piece, so tasya astitvam janati. Understand? So at a different level, one can take it to various levels also. So therefore, one can say that this Atman is there Sarva Bhuteshu. Understand? Sarva Bhuteshu Vidyate. So therefore, he is saying, Kimatra, if you do not know and I do not know, every other thing has this. So therefore, the statement is, see, Yasya Atmanaha Avigneyam Nakinchit Parishishyate. So for this Chaitanya Swarupa, for you, what is not known is through this Vritti Jnanam is not there. That Swaswarupa Chaitanyam is what is being talked about. Okay? Na Saha Atma Sarvajnaha Etadvaitat Kim Tat Yan Nachiketasa. Etadvaitat means Kim Tat. So he is just saying. Kim tad yennachiketasa prashtam devadirapi devadibhirapi vichikitsitam. Vichikitsitam means inquired. See, in fact, the mantra goes Deviratra vichikitsitam pura nahi subhijñeya manuresha dharma. That is how Yama starts his reply. Vichikitsitam dharmadibhyaha anyat. See, anyatra dharmad anyatra dharmad tad vishno paramam padam yasmat param nasti tadvai etat adhikatam ityartha. So this is, there is some interesting argument which is being presented by Bhagavad Pada. So that is why I wanted to read that for you. Now we come to our Ramaraya's explanation of the verse. Ramaraya asks this question, Nanu Nasti kaschit atma padarthaha yaha dhiraha pashyeta ata aha. So you are assuming atma padartha, right? Nasti kaschit atma padarthaha. Nasti kaschit means beyond this nashvara sharira. Nasti kaschit atma padarthaha yam dhiraha pashyet ata aha lokaiti. Lokaha. So here he explains it as Janaha. Janaha means Pramatri Varga ityetat. See, Pramatri Varga. So for whom this Jnana arises. Pramatri Varga. The group of matas. Okay. Pramatri Vargaha ityetat. Then Yena Chaitanyena Buddhivrityuparudheneti bhavaha. So this has to be carefully understood because he further elaborates on that. This mere Chaitanya, the mere Chaitanya is there even in Sushupti. Do you have Jnana? You don't have. Right? So that is why he is saying Buddhivrityuparudhena. There is a term called vritti. This vritti basically means yes, some kind of a transformation that happens. So for jnana to arise, for you to have a sense of jnana, that I know this, etc., there is a transformation that is required to take place. So this Buddhivrityuparudhena, Uparudha means ascending on that. Okay. Buddhivrityuparudheneti bhavaha. This is what is happening in Jagrata Avastha. So in order to explain that, he is trying to bring in. So there is a Buddhivritti, okay, so which is going outside through the sense organs. So this connection which gets established, Buddhivrityuparudheneti bhavaha jagrati dvanirasasparshan rupam gandha gunam. So he is listing all those things. Now here he is interpreting this gandha guna which I hinted earlier. So gandha guna can be understood as gandha iti gunaha, gandha gunaha, right? A guna in the form of gandha, right? Then he further says gandhaha gunaha kamadihi Gandhagunayo samaharaha gandhagunam taditiva. This is the second interpretation. How do you understand? Here there is a typo. So the typo here is, otherwise it could be sort of misleading. You should remove that semicolon and then connect it. There are only two different interpretations which he is trying to give. The first interpretation is Gandha iti gunaha, Gandha gunaha. The other is, through the word gunaha, you have to understand kamadihi. Kamadi means ichhadi. So in the list of the Nayayikas, you will find ichha, dvesha and so on. Understand? So ichha, kamaha. So gandhaha is one entity and gunaha is a second entity. Now by gunaha, what do you mean? You do not refer to gandha, but you refer to kamadihi. Okay? So kamadihi when you take, so then you make the dvandva. So that is samahara dvandva. Understand? So you should just put a comma maybe there if you want. Gandha gunayo samaharaha gandha gunam. Understand? You can either have samahara or you can have itaretara. So here what is done is the samahara he is putting. Gandha gunayo samaharaha gandha gunam taditiva. What does this mean? This means Yena, you don't have to confine this to whatever that has been listed here, but you can include all other gunas also. Understand? That is what he means. Gandha iti gunaha, gandha gunaha. So the other thing that you want to refer to is kamadi, ichha, dvesha, prayatna, dharma, dharma. See, so these are all things which are listed as gunas. They can also be. So I have ichha, I have dvesha. How do you know? Through this only. Yatha shabdaha, yatha rasaha, tathaiva ichha dveshadikam nyayate. Right? So therefore, you can take all those things. So therefore, he is interpreting this way. Gandhaha, gunaha, kamadihi, gandha gunayo samaharaha, gandha gunam taditiva. Okay? So then he says, Sukham dukkham cha samikshate samyak pashyati. Okay? Sukham dukkham cha samikshate samyak pashyati. So now he further says, Antah karanam chakshuradi This is a prakriya which you will find in certain texts. So these prakriya have been presented by various acharyas of Advaita Vedanta tradition in later texts for us to understand the process in a particular way. So which will help us comprehending. Okay. Antah karanam chakshuradi indriyadvara bahirnirgatya. So their explanation is, in the Jagrada Avastha, what is happening? Suppose a sight takes place. The sight of a beautiful mango tree. So with a lot of mangoes hanging. So this sight takes place to you. Now there is a jnana. Right? So this vriksha is full of fruits. So this jnana, how did it arise? So sometimes it doesn't arise, sometimes it arises. When you walk also. So here, for this jnana to arise, what is happening is being explained here. Chakshuradi indriyadvara bahirnirgatya ghatadi vishayakarena parinamate. So this is what they are trying to explain. Antahkaranam parinamate. So this is something which is quite interesting. The way they present it, so is to be sort of reconciled by us. So today, I mean, you will say that the ray from the object came and hit the eyes and it transformed. Right? So this image that you see, See, the image that you see has to be connected. Here they say that this Antahkarana went outside and fetched it. So in modern theory, you will say that light ray went in and fetched it. There is a connection which has to be established. And then this parinama also has to take place. See, when you keep the eyes open, the rays anyway are entering. Do you always perceive? You don't perceive, right? So this parinama has to take place. So here he is saying Antahkaranam Chakshuradi-dvara Bahirnirgatya. Can you stop the rays from entering your eyes? They are anyway entering, but they don't create a certain image sometimes. Right? So Bahirnirgatya Ghatadi Vishayakarena Parinamate. Okay? Antascha. So when it refers to certain other things, so here he says Sukhadhyakarena Parinamate. See, as you experience the tree, you also experience Sukha. Is it a physical entity? No. Sukha is not a physical entity. Dukkha is not a physical entity. Right? So it is a certain transformation that is being sensed by you. Therefore, it is all Antahkarana Parinama. So that is the idea here. Antahkaranam Chakshuradi Indriyadvara Bahirnirgatya Ghatadi Vishayakarena Parinamate Antascha Sukhadhyakarena Parinamate Sayesha Parinamaha Vrittirityuchyate. This is what you call this Vritti. Okay? This Vritti. Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. They say, right? So you have the word Vritti employed there. Vritti is Antahkaranasya Parinama. This is what is called Vritti. If you can control that, you are a yogi. If you cannot exercise control, you are a bhogi. That is all. Okay? So this is the distinction. So Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha. See? So here Sayesha Parinamaha Vrittirityuchyate. Now Sacha Vrittihi. Now this Vritti he further says Svato Jadapi. Though this Vritti is Jadaswarupa. After all, Parinama when you say, it is happening in an entity, a physical entity. So these physical entities are Jadarupa by themselves. So Sacha Vrittihi Svataha Jadapi Atma Chaitanya Bhasa Rasa Vidha. So Atma Chaitanya Bhasa Rasa Vidha. See, Atma Chaitanya Bhasa Rasa Vidha Sati Chetana Bhavati. So when it is sort of associated with this Chaitanya, Yesha Chetana Bhavati. Okay, so this Vritti itself presents this jnana. This is called Vritti Rupam Jnana. Vritti Rupam Jnana. Now, Sacha Vrittihi Svataha Jadapi Atma Chaitanya Bhasa Rasa Vidha Sati Chetana Bhavati Tayacha Vrittya Shabdadi Vishaya Jnanam Bhavati. In fact, this Purushasya you can include in this sentence itself. That seems to be a better reading. Tayacha Vrittya Shabdadi Vishaya Jnanam Bhavati Purushasya. You can say. Then you can say Evam Sati. See, Evam Sati is not correct. Evam Sati should be Hrasva. Okay? Evam Sati Vrittyuparudha Chaitanyameva Shabdadi Jnana Karanam Nanyaditi Siddham. See, Vrittyuparudham Chaitanyameva Shabdadi Jnana Karanam. Understand? Vrittyuparudha Chaitanya. So, mere Chaitanya does not get this jnana. You understand? So, mere Chaitanya is still there in Sushupti Avastha. But you don't have the jnana. So, this jnana does not take place because vritti is not there. And for vritti to happen, so this process has to take place. So therefore he is saying vrityuparudha chaitanyameva sabdadi jnana karanam nanyaditi siddham. Okay, so we'll stop here and we'll continue the discussion in the next class. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Virjam Karavavahi Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarve Sukhino Santu Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhavet. Om